back to when you started your business. You had a dream. You had boundless passion. You wanted to create something different. There was a problem, and you were going to solve it. Being an independent retailer is rewarding, but challenging, and there's a lot more to it than you ever imagined. Well, Lightspeed is here to help. With 45,000 customers around the world, we've helped countless entrepreneurs nail the business side of retail so they can spend time doing what they're passionate about. Join us for a 6-week speaker series featuring a curated panel of experts that will answer some of retail's toughest questions and give you the edge you need to stay competitive. You have a passion, and we have a passion for technology inspired by you. Visit lightspeedhq.com/speaker-series to learn more.
Today, I'm speaking with Nunzio Esposito, VP and Head of Experience at Hook&Loop, which is a digital agency within a company, Infor. How are you today, Nunzio?
Oh, I'm great. It's Friday here in the States, so
yeah,
it's good.
We're all happy for that, definitely. So, well, thanks for taking the time to talk to me. I've spoken with a couple of leaders over at Infor, and I think the type of work and things that are actually happening, the software that's being built is pretty innovative and interesting. So I wanted to find out more about the other activities that are happening at Infor. And Hook&Loop is an agency within Infor, is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, so we actually have, here at Infor, we actually have two sides to Hook&Loop. There's Hook&Loop was established in 2012 to really make sure that it delivered on promise of delivering the highest consumer grade experience we could at the enterprise level for Infor. And as we've evolved and we're going into our 5th year now here at Infor, what ended up happening was we started to realize that we needed to really kind of, especially because of retail as well, really kind of transform the way these businesses are trying to provide solutions through technology, to make sure that they could serve the demand in which their customers are expecting, and to start to really, I think, position themselves against their competitors. And that's kind of where Hook&Loop Digital then came into play. I would say they're probably more positioned as the digital agency here at Infor. They're working with our key customers, key clients across all industries, so not just in retail, and really taking a very kind of design thinking approach to looking at the business, agnostic to applications, but really trying to solve some of the pain points, some of the problems that businesses are having today. And then leveraging Infor applications in this kind of like ecosystem type of fashion to deliver solutions to them, and creating unique experiences, unique mashups of our applications. So Hook&Loop Digital kind of, I would say, oversees that and handles that area. In Hook&Loop, we're really focused around kind of the product experience, more, I would say, agnostic to specific companies and more holistic in the offering of our cloud suites. And I know from previous interviews, I've listened to your podcast, so I'm trying to give you a little of a shout out right now.
Great, thank you.
I listened to Eric Rowe when you interviewed him, head of our retail strategy, and he did mention the idea of a cloud suite, right? So Infor Retail is sold at it's called Cloud Suite Retail. And it's basically a mashup of, supply chain applications, applications for stores. So POS, store inventory management, store fulfillment. There's an order management system in there. There's, item allocation, planning, financials, HCM, you name it. And, I think the Cloud Suite piece is very important to understand because that's an Infor differentiator. We have all these applications, but they, our deep kind of like micro vertical industry focus is really kind of what delivers kind of the experiences in which our businesses, our customers are expecting. So it's taking our applications and then making them be specific for that vertical, that industry, and then layering in the needs of the business. So we work I would say very horizontal across all of Infor's products, and we oversee kind of our design system, which is called Soho. That is an enabler that empowers our development teams in order to build these applications. And then we have some really big initiative areas where, our UX designers, our content strategists, our writers, etc., are focused in, and one of them is Infor Retail.
Okay.
And that's kind of where new applications or, through acquisitions, because I also know in the prior podcast that you had with Eric, he was mentioning, GT Nexus was an acquisition that we had in 2015. And then, we recently acquired in 2016 StarMount and Logic Blocks as well. And, it allows us to really kind of connect these kind of applications, and then really have kind of Hook&Loop, our team here in New York, to really make sure that it's coherent, it's a singular experience for our users, and it really kind of delivers the business value and the user value in which they need.
Okay, great. Well, that's I guess easier said than done, of course.
Yeah, it's a mouthful.
Right. So the now as far as like acquisitions, are you basically looking at any new acquisition and the product line and seeing how you can actually bring that into a like a seamless experience when it gets into the cloud suite, for example?
Mm-mm. Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, I know that there's potential of acquisitions coming in the future. I don't know if I can share out those names and things like that, but I would tell you that, Infor truly does believe in what design brings, to the business and to our customers as far as where the applications need to go. But design is like so much bigger than that. So, we are part of the acquisition process. I think, doing a kind of due diligence of understanding kind of, in technology, you could kind of say kind of like a technical debt, what are we inheriting along the way? What is this solving the need? There's a space that we're trying to answer. And then from a design perspective, we're doing our due diligence to understand kind of like, what are we inheriting from the experience point of view?
Right.
I would say it's bigger than design when it comes to acquisitions. Typically, we'll work in harmony with, our head of strategy, head of development, and our C-suite. So Hook&Loop, reports direct to the CEO. I think that's really important. Design truly has a seat at the table here. We work together as a team in order to try to do the vetting, understand how these companies or these applications can fit into our suites to provide a very robust offering.
Yeah, I think that's very important. What you mentioned is that you're actually going directly to the CEO, and that's where I found myself. I have found myself that a lot of experience decisions are made by highly technical and highly competent technical people, but not necessarily the right type of people to make those decisions. So it's actually I think it's important that you have a direct access to the CEO, and you don't have a translator in between. So
that's correct. Yeah, that's correct. And it's really interesting too. I have never been in the enterprise space until prior to coming to Infor. I've always was an entrepreneur, owned my own design business prior to coming here. And it's really fascinating to see kind of the expertise, the breadth of depth that I think our teammates really understand, technology, the industry, and things like that. I think it's amazing to see how open-armed and welcome they are to kind of these, these change agents. I like to call myself and, the team in which we have here at Hook&Loop as the change agents for Infor. And what does that mean? That means that, we see it from a different lens. We look at it from a different perspective or a different context. We really try to leverage the best of human-centered design, really kind of getting into the mindset, into the shoes of our users. And in retail, especially, that spent months. I mean, I think we spent almost a year really trying to understand the nuances between kind of user roles, say at a retail store, at a brick and mortar, really understanding the difference between, a district manager, store associate.
Let's talk about a little bit more about actually what's happening to retail. Everybody's talking about retail dying, of course, and there's a lot of headlines. Sensational. Well, yeah, people say these things, and just because one department store or two, or a few are having issues, they think the entire retail sector is going to go out of the existence. Mm-hmm. So I don't agree with that myself. I think it's going to be actually much more interesting and much more fun in the future. I'm interested to see what you're seeing and how you see retail changing.
Yeah, sure, no problem. I mean, I'm glad you're saying you don't see it dying either. I think there, that term or that headline is being used. I think because just retail as we know it can't exist the way the business has been operating, right? And I think you're seeing such a state of flux around kind of the brick and mortar and truly what it's supposed to embody, or to be honest with you, what it's supposed to represent. And I think you even touched on this with Eric, but I would tell you from my perspective, it's really all about the experience. And I think that's also kind of why I chose not to have design in my title. And, we're really truly saying that Hook&Loop represents the experience and the change for our customers and change for the company is just simply because design is not enough. And I think that the retailers are really starting to see that, right? I would say that in the retail sector, they're trying to figure out what their engagement model is going to be, or what their customer experience model is going to be, and it's elusive at times because given the state of technology, how fast paced it's going, the demand that customers are having today, and the deflection that they have to the brand. Given the access in which the internet or technology has given us today, it doesn't mean you can't shop across the world and get something in a couple of days that you could have never got from your local, store, mom and pop, or big box retailer. And at the same time, you have to compete against also price, availability, and I think technology is giving the customer a lot more freedom and a lot more personal connection to goods and services that it's never done before. So I would say that as retail is evolving, I think that the biggest piece is everything around the experience, the engagement that they're going to have with their customer, and that is. And that's tough to coin, because I think it's all built on kind of what are the goals in which that retailer is trying to set forth, or more importantly, what does their brand represent? We always talk about this concept of the brand when it comes to advertising and marketing, which I find very fascinating. We don't really talk about the brand and what it means when it comes to kind of the enterprise applications, or potentially the applications that are going to be needed at the store level. But when you start to realize how close the relationship is between the brand ambassadors, which are essentially the store associate, the store manager, et cetera, right? We call them the ambassadors to the brand. Once you realize it's about the brand and then the ambassadors, and you put the customer into the mix, you realize how tight that relationship just became. And it's kind of understanding all those kind of situational contexts in which they're interacting. And that's really where this engagement model needs to be defined. So I think I would say that as retail's evolving, it's all about the experience, all about the engagement, and they really need to take kind of like a brand first approach to understanding what it takes along that kind of customer journey to, allow them to buy online, use their applications, get their foot into the door. What are they going to be doing there to, and I don't want to use the word entertain, but to engage with them and deliver on the promise in which not only their goods and services provide, but what the brand is promising that it's going to deliver.
Yeah. So the question is for me is that why do people buy something from a store, a brand? Is it, and it's a combination of things, right? And technology is becoming an even bigger piece of that, even for consumers, without even realizing it. So when a consumer takes up their phone and they start searching, they're not thinking I'm using technology. They're just thinking I'm using my phone and I'm searching for things. But the technology behind that is massive. And it's something that retailers really need to pay attention to and understand and even look ahead. So I actually had a interview with an analyst at CB Insights, and we were talking about the least recent investments in retail tech startups. And there was a lot of VCs and investors going into these things, and large companies doing innovation type labs. But really, in general, across the board, the bigger piece that was missing was the actual retailers investing in technology. So I think I think it has to be a combination. So companies like Infor and Hook&Loop should provide the leadership and the insight to companies, but retailers themselves also need to have they need to understand technology better. I guess that's what I'm trying to see. They need to understand it better. They're just, and that's the biggest change that I see when we say transformation. It's a mindset transformation. It's not just changing the software.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I'm 100% behind that. I mean, in the last year that we've been focused so heavily in retail, and you realize how the retail industry in the state of flux or kind of the roller coaster ride in which it's taking, and you really start to see a couple of things. So the mindset piece that you're mentioning, it is 100% valid. I think there's this look at the software in which the retailer needs to deliver, but it's also the openness to understand that their environment, the industry has evolved, it's changed, and the ways in which we handle business today, the business and kind of the operational side of things needs to evolve as well. So as technology is running at such a rampant, fast-paced, forward trajectory. I mean, if you really take a look at some of these retailers, have they really looked kind of at the business and the operational areas so that it matches kind of the speed or the velocity in which technology is also going, right? And that's kind of that mindset that you just mentioned is imperative in order to meet the demand in which their customers are expecting. So, the customer, given the applications that we have access to, given the information that we have access to as well, because of the internet and our applications and technology, it's moving just as fast, but the business and the operations aren't as well. And, it takes some of the retailers that we've been working with that I think really understand it and they get it. DSW, I mean, you really look at their business and what they're doing. I mean, they realize the fact that the business and the operational areas do need to transform. And what did they do? Their CIO, Ashley, was like, you know what? We need to form this group. And this group is going to be called the transformation team. And they have complete autonomy to move in and out of all business areas of DSW. And that's product, that's business, that's accounts, it's financials, it's, human capital management, how they're hiring and talent, the way the store's planograms are positioned, you name it, the entire infrastructure in which that company represents, they have the ability to go in and out, look at what is going on there, and really start to ask themselves questions from a, potentially an employee's point of view, or questions from a consumer's point of view. I mean, they have the mindset. They understand that it's going to take kind of those three areas of the business, operations, and technology in order to really kind of be a leader at retail. So I would tell you that, like, there are retailers that get it. DSW, Whole Foods is one of them. We've been working with them as well. I think at the beginning of the year we did announce Nordstrom. Nordstrom gets it. I mean, these are large retailers that have a very heavy focus on technology, and they understand what technology can deliver. This ability of moving fast, meeting expectations, and I think also the concept of, like, also failing fast. Being okay with this idea of iteration, being okay with this idea of making pivots. And I think customers today, given how fast paced everything is going, I think they're okay with that. Like, if we tried something and it didn't work and we pivoted and we did something else, I mean, it's almost starting to be kind of expected because of
Right.
how fluid everything is kind of moving.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I think consumers definitely are more open to trying new things and maybe changing than we are, maybe in the enterprise. So
Mhm.
so this is yeah.
Funny you said that. That's kind of the concept of, like, a startup, right?
Right.
A startup comes up with an idea, they try something, they try to get in, user buy-in, if you want to say it, or adoption, and they see what's working, what's not. They use qualitative and quantitative metrics in order to decide their success factors, and they move forward. And I think retailers are going to take the same concept. It's the notion that everybody's a tech company, and Infor is going to go to continue to provide these solutions and enable them so that our customers can succeed. What is really different here, and what we're trying to do here at Infor, it's bigger than design. And I think we really need to communicate that. It's the harmony of our users, the technology, the situation in which they're placed in, and design needs to make sure that it solves for all of that at that kind of presentation layer. So we're led by the experience.
Thank you so much, Nunzio. It was great speaking with you.
Being an independent retailer is rewarding, but challenging, and there's a lot more to it than you ever imagined. Well, Lightspeed is here to help. With 45,000 customers around the world, we've helped countless entrepreneurs nail the business side of retail so they can spend time doing what they're passionate about. Join us for a 6-week speaker series featuring a curated panel of experts that will answer some of retail's toughest questions and give you the edge you need to stay competitive. Visit lightspeedhq.com/speaker-series to learn more.